Hello, adventurers, travelers, and vagabonds throughout the world. Welcome to Point Noir, home of the Point Noir podcast. I'm your host, Jerry the Third, aka Come On, Jack, you know who it is. And welcome to this, our 19th session of the Point Noir podcast. Real quick, before we introduce today's guest, I just wanted to let you all know officially that we have a brand new IG page up on Instagram at Point Noir Show, POINTNOIR show. So make sure you give that new page a follow. If you guys have any suggestions, recommendations, if you love what's going on with the show, if you have any feedback, definitely send that there. Forget everything I've been saying for the previous 18 sessions, but this is where we're going to focus all our new session art for all of our guests and any news and interesting contests that we have going on. So definitely check that out. And without further delay, let's introduce today's guest. Joining us today at The Point is our guest, Mr. Ismaël Nobour. Make sure you check him out on Instagram at Ismagram_music, and that'll definitely be in the show notes so you can get the spelling right. Ismaël is a professional, world-renowned drummer, a touring drummer. He is a music producer as well as a lover of all things black and cultural and having to do with the diaspora. Ismaël happens to be one of my best and closest friends from France. We met out there as musicians. We've traveled the world together, and it's really great to get to know him better and share some of his experiences and viewpoints with you all on today's session. I think you guys will get a lot out of it, and I really appreciate that we have someone who has a black perspective but isn't Black American on the show. I think that's pretty dope, and we're definitely going to be reaching out to more guests to get more diverse perspectives just so we can have a greater area of dialogue for all of us to partake in. So sit back, grab a refreshing beverage of choice, and enjoy today's session. Ismaël, welcome to the Point Noir podcast, bro. How are you feeling today?
Well, I'm feeling good. I'm at home right now, so everything's fine. Everything's on point.
This is good. This is good.
I'm
We've gotten
excited
some
about
reps into
that.
this too. Your intro sounds so good, so full of energy right now.
I mean, practice makes perfect.
Yeah, y'all, this is like the fourth or fifth time we tried to do this interview. We've been having technical difficulties just because of the strength of the brand and how much awesomeness we're bringing through. I got my bro Ismaël Nobour on the line from Paris, France, bro. What's the weather like out there right now?
Well, it's pretty nice for October at least. Like it's around. I'm talking Celsius, so don't be mad.
Yeah, sure,
But
sure, sure.
it's around 20. Currently, it's nighttime, so it's 9 p.m. So, but yeah, weather's soft, everything cool.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So like I mentioned, we've been trying to do this for a minute, but I'm excited that Ismaël could come on the show because he's busy traveling, which we'll definitely get into, but he has a pretty active life in general. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, Ismaël, and let him know who you are, how you got into traveling, and maybe what you do a little bit in life.
Yeah, well, I'm 29 years old. I'm a professional musician. I'm a drummer and I'm a music producer. So this is basically how I make a living. And with that, there's a lot of traveling involved.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I basically split my time between playing gigs for people and creating and sometimes creating music for people and then create music for myself. And
Right. And
try
then
to choose
sometimes you do
the
all of them at the same time, right? Like sometimes I know we've been on the road together, and after we come in from a long day, you stay in the room and you just cut beats.
yeah, because I just try to do as much as I can with the very little time that we have, or at least I feel like there's never enough time. So, well, if I'm not too tired, I will always try to, do something more, you know.
Right. 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 So who are some of the artists and what sort of music do you play that you're able to travel the world like this?
Uh, First of all, I'm able to travel because I'm able to play different style of music, and I think that helped me
Mm-hmm.
to get those to get into those situations. And but I have to say that hip hop has been my main my bread and butter. So I've
Yeah.
been playing with a lot of French rappers that are pretty major. So such as Yusufa or Black M, uh, just to name a few. And um, I
You can
also
name them
been
all.
able.
We have time. I mean, we have time, bro.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, that's for sure. There's Black, and I've worked with people that are not from France too. Like I've been the drummer for Please the Ambassador for a while now, and we traveled a little bit with him too. He's from Ghana but lives in the States.
Lives in
Ah,
BK, right?
oh,
Brooklyn?
yeah, I think he's between BK and ATL. I think he's going back and forth. I'm not sure.
Oh, get some of those trap beats mixed in. I feel you.
You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so, but yeah, yeah, that's what I do, and that's why probably uh why I'm a good fit for your podcast.
Well, that and you are one of the few French musicians that has this sort of cultural perspective, and that's what I look for. I mean, we've had some incredibly, I mean, we've had conversations for days being on tour about the diaspora and the cultural influence and how much we've been influenced by the music that we get to experience while we're performing. I mean, that's what it is. And your English is really good. You speak the cool kid English. You talk like us, so it makes it real easy.
I try to, I
Yeah.
try to. But yeah, yeah, we had some deep conversations, but also because we were in really cool situations, or at least situations that doesn't that doesn't happen every day. Like you don't spend 2 weeks in Africa like all the time. That's not something that happens a lot. So obviously we were inspired to basically talk about what we were experiencing and what was going through our mind while listening all of what had all of what was happening at the time.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, we'll catch up on that probably later on as we talk about how some of our stories and things we've seen have combined because we've been to a couple countries together that it was our first time there together.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
what were some of your earlier experiences traveling? Because when you're situated in France, especially, having lineage from the West Indies like you do, there's a lot of travel in between. But, did you start off traveling as a kid with your family? Did you guys tend to go to different places of Europe, with your parents? What was that like?
Yeah, yeah. My first travels were definitely going to Martinique, so in the French Caribbean to see family for holidays. That was the first travel, and that was what we did the most. Because we would probably spend the summer there every 2 years, or sometimes every year. Like it would depend on the budget. And but yeah, these are the first travel experiences that I had, and so I guess from an early age, I had the idea that it was an option to go from places to places, you know.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it didn't feel so much like traveling because it was always family, and it was always going from home to basically the other home. So it was traveling in the sense of the distance and
Right.
the weather and everything at the time. And but as far as experiencing something new,
Hmm.
that, no, that's not what it was.
Right.
But then, uh, like when I was in my teens, like 14, we went to Senegal for 3 weeks. That's really the first time I felt like I was really like traveling.
Right, right. Senegal, which for those who might not be familiar, is on the western edge of the African continent, francophone in nature. But if you guys have seen like this huge statue, I actually just posted a picture on my Instagram not too long ago. It's the monument for the African Renaissance Monument. That's what it's called. The African
Okay.
Renaissance Monument is a huge. It's a black man, his wife, and his child up on his arm. It's huge. It looks like something out of like Gundam. It's crazy.
I need to check that out.
Yeah, it wasn't there if you were there when you were 14, but
No,
for
no,
those
it
who might
wasn't.
be listening, Yeah, it's a dope spot, and I want to go to Senegal just to see it, you know. And I know a little bit about the culture, but the food is dope.
That's that. Yeah, that and other things like so. It's a very nice country.
Yeah,
The vibe is so.
yeah. So, like, what changed for you on that first trip to Senegal? And I think you might be able to move a little bit closer to the mic.
Oh, okay. Uh, well, first of all, what was different is it was my actual first time outside of France, like legally, because Martinique is French.
Hmm.
So even though it's super far away, you're technically not outside of France. So it was my first time like I, being outside of France, and I had to get shots. Uh, I'm not sure how to say that in English, but you don't want to catch some diseases that they have in those countries,
Right?
so you had to.
Yellow fever, typhoid,
Yeah,
malaria,
exactly.
which
So
rarely happens, which is why we have the
yeah,
shots.
yeah, definitely. But it's just to say that going through that process, you start to understand that like you're going someplace else.
Yeah,
you know, when you get, so if you have to go to the doctor before you go on a trip, like that means that's serious.
it's serious. It's
So,
on now, right?
so, so right away it felt different, and it's really difficult to explain how different Senegal or any country in Africa is different from Europe because it's different in every single way, like
Mm,
except for the fact that they speak French in Senegal and I speak French too. But
right.
beside that, like, everything's different. You can feel like I remember like getting out the plane and realizing that I'll now have to forget everything that I'm used to because that's not working right now.
Right, right.
We were in the airport. There were no AC, no fans, no luggage stuff no luggage machine. I don't have the word. When you're waiting for your luggage in the airport and they're just going around the machine
Oh
like
yeah, one of the luggage conveyors, one of the luggage conveyor
yeah,
belts
exactly, like they weren't one. It was just like they would just put cases on top of another another,
on the
and
floor.
you just
Yeah.
have to, yeah, it was just like a little, it was a pyramid of of suitcases, and you have to go through it and just find yours. like and
Right, which to their
right.
credit, I mean, a triangle is a very strong, naturally occurring shape. I mean, that's solid.
Oh
That's good
yeah.
engineering.
Oh, definitely. And you see a lot of good engineering there, but you also understand right away, like, okay, that like we're in the airport. Like that's
Right.
that's super big. That's super important for any country. And you get there, and so okay, so if that is the airport, like now I know where I am, and I don't know what to expect, but I think I know what not to expect. So,
Right.
so so yeah, it was a. And I guess I understood it like real quick, and so I had an amazing time, and it wasn't frustrating at all, just because I knew that you're in a different place and just different codes and different priorities and different means and different everything. So yeah, it was very very different from just going to. I mean, not just, but to. It was very different from going to the Caribbean and what I was used to at the time.
Right. I mean, I can definitely see how your open mindedness to the situation would help you adapt more quickly. But I think those experiences going to the Caribbean help probably influence that because, in the States, a lot of times, we'll have, especially black families will go visit family in the South. And now you might be a little bit too close to the microphone.
Okay.
They'll visit family in the South from the North, and you might take a car. It might be an 8 hour car ride, but you getting on a plane and having to go to really a different island kind of puts you in the mindset that, hey, I'm not in Paris anymore. I'm now in Martinique. And when you go to Senegal, it's the same thing. And a lot of Americans struggle because they expect it to be the same as home because they've never had that experience. They've just gotten in a car and seen family versus physically having to, move to a different piece of land. I think that's a big deal for you to be open minded like that.
Yeah, and also I think also I don't get all the credit just because I was prepared. Like my parents, they're big on the culture. They would always talk about history. So even before I went to Africa, like I knew, uh, I don't know, I was prepared. I knew they talked to me this and I was going there like knowing that I was going back to the roots. Like I don't know if that makes sense, but I didn't just go to Africa like, okay, let's see what it is. Like, no, it was almost like a spiritual thing even then,
Mm.
so even though I couldn't, I didn't, I was young, so I didn't understand everything and I even, yeah, a lot of things I didn't get, but I knew that I was in Africa and that's where it started and being from the Caribbean, the meaning was strong even as a teenager.
Right. What were some of the stories that they were telling you about, or some of the different ways that they were teaching you in the household? I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm not sure really at what age they started because I guess they went slow, but they made sure like from an early age that we understood that we were black.
Right? Was
And
it books? Was it movies? What were they exposing you
um,
to, or was it
I
just
mean,
like,
first I think it was at first he was just talking, because they felt like it was important that we realize that we are black in a white country,
hmm
and then I think I was probably around 8 or 9 when they explained to me like the whole slavery thing and you know slaves going from Africa to the Caribbean and then sugar and everything went from the Caribbean to Europe and all that. Like I knew that from an early age, even though it was I, they didn't go into details, but I had the main story. Like I had that down from a very early age, so I guess I was even a little curious myself to know what what where I came from, I guess. So
yeah.
when I went, when I went to Senegal and to Africa, it was I was I don't know, I was expecting to be, I wanted to learn, I wanted to feel things, I wanted to connect. Yeah. So yeah, that's I think that I know I'm sure that helped me like be. That's why I was comfortable like from the beginning, I guess.
Right. You kind of had some understanding that there was something important going on.
Exactly, and I was not because sometimes like being from Europe or maybe the States, like I've seen people they go to Africa or any places that are poor and they have that they're very judgmental of the country and the
Right.
people and everything. That wasn't the case for me just because I was educated actually.
Right. Right. And then, speaking of that, because Senegal, in terms of Western Africa, if I remember correctly, is doing pretty well now. I mean, this was almost 15 years
Yeah,
ago when you first visited, but you've also seen some of the extremes of, kind of modernization. I know you told me about some tours where you guys had full security detail, not because it was dangerous, but because the people you were playing with were so popular.
yeah. That was when we went Guinea with Black M. He's from there, but he blew up in France. So like when he goes home, he's like Michael Jackson beat. Like,
Yeah.
he was crazy. Like thousands of people waiting outside the airport. You know, we were literally walking with the army. Like that was that
The
was
the army with guns and everything.
oh yeah, my man, that's African army. Like they would hit people with the wood stick or I don't know how you call it.
The
That
baton.
thing that they yeah exactly they take that and they
Baton. What?
exactly that's what they do. And that's
They've been
that
training their whole lives for this moment.
my man, like it was crazy. Like African army is some like I felt bad because there was a lot of people, like really thousands of people, and we were literally with the army and with the chief, the general or whatever his title was, and they had like the shotgun, no everything. It was it was different.
Yeah, that's wild. But the diversity is there. And, I always like to spend time talking about all the pop and stuff that's going on the continent because while there's some definitely areas that are developing and finding their way and stuff like that, there are areas where I mean, you would think you were in, downtown Manhattan or in San Francisco. Like it's just popping, like with a lot of energy, good energy and money in a lot of areas in Africa. And musicians are seeing that. Like there are American musicians who go on tour and cannot believe it, how much money is on the continent.
Oh yeah, there's I mean there's a lot of money, but as usual, it's not uh uh divided in a nice way.
Right.
Uh, But yeah, there's the money because because basically everything that we use to make this world go round comes from that. So
Hmm.
there would be some money there, I mean, for some people at least. But you get to see that, and that's very empowering at some level to see that Africa and Black people. I mean, when I think of Africa, I think of where Black people originated from.
Hmm.
So I think it's very empowering as a Black man or a Black woman to see that Africa is not only starvation, war, poverty. I mean, you, because I mean, or at least that's how I felt. It gave me something to be proud of. So that was something. But you also get exposed to like real poverty and real struggle and real, like, yeah, to, you get exposed to realness, like for real. So there, it really goes both ways. Like it's a, it's an intense experience, or at least it's always an intense experience for me to go there.
Right. Right. Yeah, there's definitely oftentimes two sides to it, but I think, even in your experience in Paris, and I've spent some time in the city, I think some of these other countries like the States, like I was watching some documentaries on YouTube about how prevalent homelessness is in the States, where people are living out of their cars or out of storage facilities. I think some of these other countries that have a little bit of a head start are just better at covering it up, but we have some intense situations right here in the States. And I feel like we get kind of caught up in the glamour of how well some of the States does, but they're just as, they're in difficult situations just like we see in Africa. So for me, I don't really separate them. They're both difficult.
Oh yeah, yeah, they're both difficult in their own ways. And uh, what I was trying to say is, I'm talking from my perspective, and I was never in such difficult situations. I was lucky enough to grow up in a family where we weren't rich, but we weren't poor, so it was always okay.
Yeah.
So so it was the first time for me to really be exposed to, okay, and I mean, we've been in that situation, like, okay, the power went off. There's just no power. What are you gonna do?
Yes, we've been in that situation 3 times in a day.
So, and that's every day. That's all the time. Or you know, you go to places. And I remember being in a cab, and it just wouldn't work anymore. Like it stopped. Like the car broke, and
Yeah.
yeah, and like nobody's afraid, and everybody's chill. Is like, okay, I'll just try to fix it, and it takes like an hour and a half or two, and fixes it. And however, I have no idea how he did that. You just realize that, okay, everything that's happening there is different, and okay, I need to be in tune with the fact that there could be no electricity, there could be no water, there could be uh, whatever, you know. So, and not to say that what we go through in Europe or the States isn't difficult, but it's just very different. The struggle that we face is different struggles. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and we've definitely been in that no power situation.
Oh yeah.
So Had to be. That was this year, our last tour in Burkina Faso. We,
Yeah, it was
we're.
in
What were you saying?
yeah, it was in April or May.
Yeah, I think it. I don't. Yeah, you're probably right. Whatever it is, you're right about it. But we spend all day teaching and performing, and we need to get our performances together. So we were at a local studio. They were gracious enough to let us run our workshops there and rehearse. But on the days where we really needed to rehearse, there was rolling blackouts. So what did we do, Ismail? We sang our. That was my idea to sing our parts.
Yeah, that's what we did, and we need to specify that it's really hot in there. Like it was
Oh my
crazy hot,
goodness.
and no electricity means no fan. Just for you people to know.
No, and we're sitting outside in the shade because if we were, the way they have padding and stuff in the studio for the sound, it was hotter inside than it was outside. So we were doing our best, but yeah, we had to play the largest jazz festival in the country in like 2 days, and we have nowhere to practice, with electricity. So it was an experience.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's what I felt is okay. It's humbling because coming from Europe and whatever you go to Africa, and you're like, oh, but this is not well organized. They're late or this or that, and then you understand. Yeah, you might be late if you don't have power for like 4 hours. You know.
Right, right.
So then and that's what I was saying. Understanding the struggle because it affects everything.
Oh yeah, 100%. And actually, now that you mention it, on that last night, so we're playing Jazza Wagga in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, and one of like the godfathers of keyboard in Africa, Sheck,
Yeah.
his whole show got cut 5 minutes in. And you know what they did was they pulled out all the acoustic drums, all the djembes, all the talking drums, and just got on stage and started dancing with one light. There was like literally a camera light that they had. That was it. He's the biggest artist, one of the biggest artists on the continent, and his power got cut in the beginning of his performance. It was wild.
Yeah, and the most amazing thing with that is like us, or we would have freaked out and probably got off stage and just wait. But they were just, oh, okay, no power. Okay, all right. Okay, let's play. But it's like it's it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't, they just kept going.
Oh
I
yeah.
really
And
respected that.
it was showmanship to the max. But one of the cool things, talking about history and culture was, we were reminded you're a drummer. I've played drums. I've been on stage with drummers, but like the djembe, the way that instrument's constructed was actually louder than the drum kit. You remember that?
Oh yeah, it was a lot louder. Like,
Yeah. So like the traditional instruments and being so close to the tradition. I mean, these guys were making these instruments crush an entire stadium, small
yeah.
amphitheater when our modern
Oh yeah, yeah.
instruments needed power and stuff.
Exactly. And that, so that's why I'm saying all of that is really humbling. And you think you come to, I mean, especially us, like we were there to teach, master classes and everything. But then you realize that you learn just as much as you teach, if not
Right.
more.
Right. Yeah. Especially, whew, super grateful for that. So outside of the
Right.
continent, where else? I know you've been in Japan recently, and then you still travel to the West Indies to play as well, right?
Yeah, I travel. I mean, to play, I will go basically anywhere, works takes me. And for now, I've been in different places in Africa, but not only most countries in Europe. I mean Western Europe, but even Russia. I've been there. Japan, like you said, Canada, New Caledonia. Um, yeah, I've been Colombia. Uh, yeah, like I've been around. I've been around, and I still go back to the Caribbean to play. And also, like I was there just 2 weeks ago just to see my mom, basically. But yeah, I do. I'm actually right now. I'm trying to travel a little less. That's like that's, I'm first goal was to travel as much as possible, and now I was traveling so much at some point that I just want to stay home for a little bit.
Right, right, because you're still paying rent there, and sometimes, I mean, like we mentioned, carrying these instruments, having to learn this music, having to perform like this is tiring, bro. It's not a vacation.
Yeah, and but more than that, for me, the reason that I want to stop, not stop, but I just want to travel a little less, and but also to travel a little better, I would say. And but I have a family, wife, kid, so I'm also trying to be there, and so yeah, the lifestyle is a little overwhelming sometimes. So I had to figure out what to say yes to and what to say no to because it's not always I mean it looks good on Instagram, but it's not always the best to go like Brazil, France, Senegal, Russia, France, Caribbean, France. Like it looks amazing on the gram, but in real life sometimes it's really difficult to handle actually.
Right, and also to take care of those responsibilities for your personal life. You're a wise man,
Exactly.
Ismail, who's given me some good advice over the years. I appreciate that.
It's an exchange, bro.
Yeah, yeah. um I'm trying to so out of all the different areas you've explored, and now that you're being a little bit more precise or more specific about where you travel, is it always Africa that always piques your interest, or do you have some places you still haven't seen yet that really interest you?
Oh no, there. I mean, yeah, Africa's has got to be number one for me. Uh, just because of its meaning, it means everything to humanity, and it means everything to Black people, or it should mean everything. So Africa is always going to be number one, and it's so big and it's so diverse.
Yeah.
And the country that I want to go to the most in the world is Ethiopia. That's the country.
Ooh,
That's
yeah.
that's really the if I had one country to choose, but uh that doesn't mean that I don't like I have the fantasy that I will go to the Antarctic one day. That's something I want
Okay.
to see for some reason. Um, and yeah, some what I like about the way I travel with work is that I don't really pick the destination, so I'm allowed to be surprised. And sometimes, so I go to places, some of them I like, some of them I don't. But most of it I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for music. I don't think I would have been to Russia if it wasn't for music.
Mm,
But but I went there, and so now I have an opinion. And
right.
so but yeah, or also when I went to New Caledonia, it was probably the most like has to be the first or second most beautiful places that I've seen in my life, and it's like super far from Africa. So, but yeah, Africa's number one forever.
Right, right. I didn't want to make any assumptions. I figured I'd ask, but Antarctica is interesting. That's a flex. That's a little flex right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Get chilly one
Like,
time.
yeah, like I mean, I don't know. I wanted to enjoy all white for once.
France wasn't
So
enough.
you understand me. So,
Right, that off-white white. I got you. I
yeah,
got you.
yeah.
Or so
So
speaking
yeah.
of the family, because when we travel, one of the things that's huge about keeping the homestead happy, and I have a bunch of sisters and my family. I always bring back something, and you do a really good job of doing that for your people at home, your wife, your kids. How are you? Is that part of the way you're sharing the culture, or are you doing more by showing, taking them to art exhibits or stories? How are you kind of sharing the history in a similar way that your parents shared it with you?
Um, but that's actually a process that I'm going through right now because my kid is 9. She's 9
Mm,
right now, so I think she's in that age where you know she can understand more things, and also she starts to have more questions about everything basically. So the first thing is I always bring back something just because I'm leaving and they're not leaving. So even though they both know that I'm leaving for work, it still feels like I'm leaving there, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's hard to feel sorry for someone that's like, okay, sorry, I'm going for 2 weeks in Colombia. I'll see you. You know, it's different, even though it's for work, you know. So
Yeah.
I always bring back something just because it means like I was thinking of you, and also I try to find something that's really specific to the place that I'm at. Like I'm, I would never buy something like at the airport or something like that's corny. But I will try to go to a market or something that's very specific. And so that gift part is more. I don't, to be honest, I don't really do it as much for the cultural aspect of things. As it is more like just you know, it's a gift. Gifts are nice. Like, and, but as far as the whole cultural thing is, it's a lot of talking. Like I try to talk. I try to the sometimes I would just ask questions like, "Have you ever thought of that?" No, like Mikey, she's really light skinned, you know,
Hmm.
and I'm not, and her mom's not, and she was confused a little bit, like, okay, why is everybody dark and I'm not,
Yeah.
and am I white or and so I started to ask, like, you ever thought of that? Why is that? And she was like, no, I don't know. Do you want to know? And then I start to explain, but I don't go into too much details like right away, just because it's a lot. There's a lot of information, but I explained to her like, okay, so in the Caribbean we were people from Africa brought there, but some things happened with white people too. So some of us are lighter, and there were people from India too, and from China too, and
Hmm.
everybody's mixed, and just try to explain like she'll get to, I just want her to have like the basics so that she cannot be bullshitted at school,
Right.
and but also I don't want to tell her too much too soon because I don't want her to grow up and feel like she should be apart from anyone at school or, you know, I don't want her to, I don't talk about like white supremacy or nothing like that. It's just, I just want her to know like, okay, this and that happened and it was awful and this is why there's black people in the States and in Africa and in France and just because I try to explain but without putting too much emotion in it,
Hmm. Yeah.
just so she knows and understand and that and just I didn't want the teacher or anyone to say something that's not true and and for her to believe like so and I think as she will grow I will get into more and more details. The uh, yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Right. And that's smart, man. Sounds like a really wise approach. And that turnaround, you being under 30 yourself and having these amazing experiences. Like my parents have never been to Africa. A lot of our parents for us in the States have
Yeah,
never
yeah, yeah,
been. And for you to take that firsthand knowledge and share that with somebody in a way that's not too heavy because, some of the talks we get on are very heavy for a 9-year-old at all.
yeah,
And just introduce it bit by bit so that she's aware. I think that's progressing the culture, bro. That's for the culture.
yeah. It's all about that, and I I want her to feel comfortable in her own skin. That
Mm,
that's that's the goal, because growing up, like my parents, they did better than what their parent did, and I'm trying to do even better. So growing up, sometimes I wouldn't feel comfortable about my skin color because I was surrounded with a lot of white people. And, kids are mean, and yeah, I was confused, and I don't want. I mean, she would have to go through her own stuff, obviously, uh, but I don't want her to. I want her to feel as comfortable as possible, and I think it goes with knowing stuff, and it's not even only about the color, but I just want her to feel like. whatever she is, that's good. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, so so whatever, yeah, that thing on your skin, or I don't know if like I'm dark, but some places I would have like a spot that's light for whatever reason. Like I don't know, whatever you have, it's okay, it's cool, and that's basically I wanted to feel comfortable. I think we're at this point. That's that's what matters the most for me. And I don't, and also, and especially I don't want her to want to be anything else than a black woman, you know? So
Yeah. Yeah. And the best one she can be, bro. That's self-esteem. That's how you.
exactly.
I mean, I don't have kids for a whole list of great reasons, um, but I think that's how you instill self-esteem. And from my experience, that's the number one attribute that people generally lack is that feeling good about them. And for you to be a father figure in her life to tell her that she's positive, she's someone of value whenever she struggles 20 years from now, 10 years from now, because life will be challenging. She'll be able to
Oh
think
yeah,
about those
definitely.
moments. She'll be able to
And,
remember,
and
you know what, my dad believed
exactly,
in me, or he said it was okay. Like, that's the shit, bro.
exactly. And I really feel like most of the time, like as a kid or as a teenager, you want to go away from what you were taught by your parents. But when you get a little older, probably 25, 26, maybe 30, then you start to go back to that. And I want her to have something to go back to when
Yeah.
when is the time. So
Right. Something positive. That's smart. It's smart. It's not just gifts. And that's one thing that you've taught me, because I don't always do those nice things where, hey, Jerry, buy gifts for people. My approach is to buy gifts that look like I bought them at the market, but just found in the airport. That's my hack right there.
yeah, but also the
Say,
thing is, as I buy a gift for two people, so I take it's just my wife and my girl. Like that's it. So it's I just w- I just want to do it, and I just want it to be special, and it even became a kind of a habit. That's the thing. Like wherever I go, I bring something, and we kind of add it to the collection, so that it became it.
right. Last time we were on a tour too, you bought a sword for yourself. So it's not just two people. I'm pretty sure you bought a freaking sword, dude.
Oh yeah, but that wasn't a gift. Like that's something that I bought for me, and I have my damn sword. I'm so proud of it.
Yeah, he was so hype about this sword. This thing is
Man, that
like
sword is amazing.
it's like a meter long.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
and
he's
you
like,
know
"Can
what
I
the
go
guy
to the
said?
airport with this?"
He said it was for kings to use. Like, so I was like, I need one of them. Like that's
Right, right. I'm surprised
that's
you didn't
so.
get two. Like, damn.
Oh yeah, I wasn't that rich, but but, yeah, I got one king sword in my living room right now, and I'm really happy about it.
Right, right. That's yeah, when I was over at the crib last time I was in Paris, I was like, "Yep, there's that damn sword. That's where it
Oh man,
belongs. In your house. That's where it
exactly,
belongs." Yeah,
exactly.
in the home of a young king. I'm with it. Shit was so funny. Um So I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember. So we've been to the Congo together. Yeah, because I just posted a video of you dancing with the. I'll say this correctly. Of the minister or the sitting minister of tourism said, "Oh, I want to dance with Ismaël." That was a really good moment. I caught that on camera and sent that to you. You were like, "I don't know what to do. She's a minister," and I was like, "But you're both black. It's fine. Like we're in
Yeah,
Africa.
yeah,
They'll
yeah. We
understand
danced,
in the
and
papers tomorrow." Yeah, we danced.
oh
Maybe got some digits, whatever.
yeah,
Um,
it was funny.
it was a
It was
moment,
funny.
and then that's where we got into the sap stuff, because I had my sap outfits, which I was super stoked about. I bought some suits from Paris, and the style comes originates in the Congo, and so I wanted to wear my clothes down there and meet these other sapeurs. And Ismail needed some threads, so we broke that up. We both got to be sapologists for a day. That was good.
And we were taught how to pose pictures and everything, and we
Yes,
spoke with the president of the sappers in Pointe Noire. So I guess we
yes,
were in good hands. Like we were, I think
we
it
were
was
we
Jean
were
Claude.
legit. What was his name again?
Jean Claude, I think.
Wait, Jean-Claude, wait, JC. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, we've had some trips. We got to figure out a way to do some more. I don't know how it works, but we'll get together. You
Yeah,
know I'm retired,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
got your number, you know.
yeah, yeah. I know you're retired, but you're like a rapper. So you just keep retiring and coming back. So I'm not worrying anymore.
Yeah, Jerry is the rapper of bass players. He after every show is his last show.
Exactly. Keeps the people excited.
Exactly. Gets the people going. Yeah, bro. I gotta ask you, since I know you stay upbeat with the culture, how are you feeling about Kanye these days?
Uh, to be perfectly honest, I wasn't very interested. I know that he had one first round months ago where he was with that whole "Make America Great Again," and I
Yeah,
think
did
he
you see
said,
him at the Trump thing this past week?
"No, I didn't," but I see it went viral. But at this point, sometimes I just don't wanna like I don't want that in my mind. Like Kanye's for me, he's doing whatever he thinks he has to do to keep his thing going. Like I mean, he's
Mm-hmm.
married to a Kardashian. I don't want to hear anything from a man that's married to Kim Kardashian. I mean, like, I'm sorry to put it like, but
It's
for me,
okay. Kanye doesn't pay my light bills, but I wanted to ask you because I knew you probably
no,
didn't
no,
give
but
a
in a
crap.
no, but it's more in the sense that uh, it's only relevant because he's famous, but he's not someone. First of all, he's not someone that I ever liked ever. Like even before all that, I wasn't with that guy. So what he's doing right now, I feel like he's just he's he's building alliances, I feel like,
Mm,
powerful ones, and he's looking out for himself and his wealth. And, he had that first round when he had an album coming up, and like everyone, like the whole world was talking about Kanye West. So he was the greatest, uh, I don't know how to say that in English, but basically that was amazing publicity because like the
mm-hmm.
whole world was talking about Kanye West. And since now it's all about streaming, like everybody's gonna listen to the album just to know, because you don't have to spend any money on it, so you would just listen to it anyway, just out of curiosity.
Right.
And so I really feel like it's more of a business move that he's doing, and he's making alliances that are the worst, and he doesn't care about the image that he gives of his own people. And for, for me, what I see is a very selfish man, and probably a little crazy too. And so that's why I'm not trying to give him any credit. Like, okay, do like I don't know if what I say makes any sense, but he's just a man that's gonna do anything to stay in power, even marrying Kim Kardashian or going with Trump or whatever move that he has to make to stay relevant for the next uh, 10, 20 years. So, yeah, um, I don't, yeah, that's my take on it.
I mean,
What is
sage words. I love your perspective. You always bring in more than just the obvious factors about it, and there's a lot to a picture, in terms of building a business, sustaining a business, and there's definitely some self promotion going on there, some self preservation. But as we close out here, let's get to that part of the show. What do you have going up? I know you mentioned going to Antarctica, but that'll happen later. So, what sort of tours or music events or projects or businesses do you have going on?
Well, so yeah, lately, I cut down a little bit on the tours just because I was gigging, like for the reasons that we talked about earlier, family and everything. I
Mm-hmm.
was just trying to stay home a little more, and also because I'm really getting into music production, and that takes time. So it was impossible to be on tour like all the time, and to be able to create. at the same time. So right now I have a few things going on. So I'm still like a working musician. So I'll play a gig, and I think my next real tour is probably going to be in uh, spring. But
Okay.
until then, I have a band that's called Notoya, and we're mixing our first EP. So we don't have a date just because we don't want to rush. It's gonna come out when it's ready, but it's
For the
getting
release
mixed.
date.
So yeah, exactly. We don't have a release date just because it's gonna be out when it's ready and when the video clip is done. The music video, I mean, the music video is done. So that's one thing. And I'm producing a rapper singer. She's from Guadeloupe, which is an island next to Martinique. And it's so on that project I'm like producing in the sense of paying and in the sense of making the music. And so basically I do everything. I play, I record, I make the music. And so that she's named Cindy Stoves, and we're dropping in November, so next month. So that's
Okay,
going to
that's
be
what's up.
our first EP. And I have also another singer that I'm working with, but this is less advanced. We're 3 songs in, 3 songs are done, but so yeah, all of that is taking like a fair amount of time, and so basically everything is gonna drop like it's 2 years of work, and probably the 3 projects are gonna drop 2 months from each other within the same year. So that's uh that's what's going on right now, and I'm trying to go back to teaching also a little bit, just trying to make money from Paris, actually, not having to be far from home to make any money.
Right.
And also I'm trying to get into more into like the 21st century. So now you can sell beats online, you can send, I'm a drummer, so I can record drum loops and try to, there's platforms for that right now. So I'm just getting busy, like recording drum loops and making beats and trying to network and to promote my Instagram and everything. Just trying to, I'm basically trying to be all over the place just because I know that right now, money's got to come from different angles. So now is the time where I'm still young enough that I have the energy to do stuff, but wise enough not to do it, but wise enough to do it right. So I feel like now is the time to have everything going so that everything's straight and rolling when I hit 40.
Smart, smart. Like I said, y'all, Ismail is one of those cats that I turn to for advice. We've had some we've done a lot of travel experiences and just hanging out with each other, but his perspective is always looking forward, everything from, his career, his professional life to how he's raising his daughter. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show, bro, because I think there are people even in Paris and France and in your circles that don't know that this is how you operate. I mean, when it comes to musicians, by far, you're one of the most prepared and professional, like just for no reason. Like I'll be getting frustrated, but like, damn, he really is listening to everything. Like he really studied the crap out of this music, and it's why you've had the success you've had, dude. And it's a great quality. I love it.
Right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And coming from you, like I guess if we were in the same places, like when you were in Paris, we were always in the same places. We ended up on 2 tours in Africa, so I guess we have kind of similar approaches to certain stuff, even though we're different on other levels. But like, yeah, coming from you means a lot just because of the respect and because of the culture, of course.
Always for the culture. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we can't forget that trip to Valmorel.
Oh no, we really can't.
Oh no, no. So Jesus. This thankfully this is the end of the show because this could be another freaking half hour of talking. But um just for our amusement, they have these exchanges you often see a lot in Europe. So you'll get a band from, let's say, Paris, and somebody like Club Med, specifically Club Med, will say, hey, you bring your band out here to perform once a day for 5, 6 days. We'll comp all your food. We'll get you a room. You can bring your significant others over. Like you guys can go on a pretty much a vacation, and we'll just kind of do an exchange. You make no money from it essentially, but you get the experience of, all access at Club Med. So we went to a Club Med in Val, which is in the French Alps. And it was my first time skiing in 20 years. Isma had no problem with the skiing, but we had quite an experience there, and I count that as a tour as well. That
It
definitely
was.
felt
It
like
was.
work.
It felt like work, but and it was funky. It was very funky.
Yeah, there's a lot of yeah, stories for for a whole nother podcast.
For a different podcast. Yeah, that's not the topic.
It'd be called My Degenerate Life. La vie au noir. Quoi. La vie au noir.
Exactement. Exactement.
Bouf, putain. Yeah, next, actually, and you're the first guest who English is not your first language, and you nailed it, and I appreciate that because
Thanks.
I always encourage people to try learning new language, and that's how I got good at French. You met me when I was terrible. Like, y'all, you got to be terrible to get good. It's just like a baby learning to walk. Like, the worse you are, the better you'll be at the end. And then one day you
Yep,
can be
sure.
awesome like Isma. It'll be fine.
Oh, yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. You have to thank Netflix for that. That helped.
Yeah, Netflix. So Bet, man, we're gonna wrap up. Thank you so much. Anything else you wanted to say before we sign off?
Well, it was really a pleasure, and we should do that more often. Like just call each other and talk. And like I feel like your podcast is great. Uh, as I told you in person, but I'm telling you right now, I don't think that I know anybody that does something similar to what you're doing. So it's exciting. It's I think it's fresh. You're putting a lot of energy into it. So I'm proud to be a part of it. And so when it's big and everything, you know I would say like I was in the show, and
I was a part of it.
exactly, and that's dope. And anything that's relevant for the Black diaspora, I'm all in. And I feel like you're a talented and smart man, and you're like pushing in the right direction. Like, yeah, I'm thrilled with that. Like that's the shit.
Man, I appreciate that, bro. And that's how I've gotten my standards so high because people like Ismail do not stand for any bullshit. So thank you, bro. And shoot, who knows, man? Maybe we'll get you put in a podcast where you interview other producers and stuff and do a similar thing because artists, we need to do stuff like this. We need to talk about our
Yeah.
experiences and what it's really like because it's we need that structure. We need those leaders.
No, for sure. And you know that what you do. I mean, it's inspiring for people, and it's definitely inspiring for me. And like we met on different situations, playing music, we talked, and now you have this show, so I'm part of it. So that helps you, that helps me. Like even it goes further than the podcast. It just because the podcast is actually like making things happen, and now I'm helping you, you're helping me. You've sent you've sent music, you sent me music, like you recorded bass for me, like that's the dynamic that we want to provide and to experience as a as black people. And so yeah, I'm all in 100.
For the culture. That's going to be the name of this episode. It's going to be For the Culture. And real quick, do you have a Beats profile page? Because I know a lot of creators, a lot of people who need music. We've talked about this before. Where can I find all of your beats, or is it just by email and you can send some stuff?
Well, Instagram is where I'm most active, and it's not
Okay.
only for beats. On Instagram, you'll see me play, you'll hear beats, you'll see me just posing and looking good.
Yes. Yes.
And uh, but yeah, I think I need to get a little more organized as I added more now I do different things. Before I used to only be a drummer, and now I had a different thing. So maybe I need to organize that. But for now, it's everything on Instagram, and Instagram is Ismagram_music, and that's me.
Got you. Wanted to make sure we plug that right quick. Good, and that'll be in the show notes. All right, bro. Well, until the next time, hopefully, I don't know if I'll be back in France this year. I've been twice already. People keep asking me to come back. I'm like,
We love you, Jerry. We love you, Jerry.
The love is mutual. It's, we got to be about this business sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, man, hope you keep traveling well. And dude, I'm proud to know what you're doing with your family because we haven't been able to talk in a while. So that's really the shit, man. So, thanks so much for spending the time, man. And, yeah, well, we're going to sign off, man. Appreciate it, Isma.
Yeah, appreciate it, bro. See you around.
Yeah. All right. À tout.
Yes, à tout.
Et voilà, Monsieur Nobour. Merci bien, frère. Thank you so much, Ismaël, for having some time to share with us today on the show. Again, y'all check him out on Instagram. He's always, listen, bro is always swaggy. Always swaggy. Check him out on IG at Ismagram_music. And if you have any interest or want to get some ideas for music you might need for a podcast, for maybe your vlog, maybe for something else, creative that you're involved in, definitely hit him up. He's a great guy to work with, and he's used to working with Americans and being a super professional, hella professional. So thanks again, Ismaël. And for everybody else, hope you loved that session. We have many more coming. Make sure you check out our new IG page at Point Noir Show on Instagram, and that's where we can definitely be in touch about everything related to the show. Maybe you guys have some ideas, maybe some feedback, whatever. We're out there. We're going to be putting out content for you, so make sure you check it out. Until the next time, this is Jerry the Third, aka Kimono Jack, signing off.